A very warm welcome to the Michelin Supercar Paddock here at Festival of Speed. Walk this way, I'm going to show you a few cars in the first glance batch first. MX-5 is a very well-known car to a lot of people. This is the latest one, the 4th generation. If we come along here, we can see that we've really got some elongated and quite pronounced curves going on the bonnet and the wing here. You've got one long line here down to the bonnet. It's almost reminiscent of an E-Type. It's been fantastic. Honda Civic Type R. Been in the making for 5 years, this incarnation of the Type R. Brilliant hot hatch, 306 brake horsepower through the front wheels. Well, Honda has spent a lot of effort this time reducing torque steer by up to 50%. I drove it the other day, they've definitely done a good job on that. Follow me, let's keep going. Next up, we've got Peugeot 308 GTI, which any French hot hatch fan will know about. This was unveiled, debut for this car at Festival of Speed this year. It's going up the hill, again in the first glance batch, been very well received. 2015 Ford Mustang GT350R. Here it is in its not so subtle paint job with its fantastic Shelby detail down the bottom there. Rear seats and aircon are out. Extra power from the 5.2 litre V8 is very much in. More than 500 brake horsepower in fact. We've done the first glance batch. Now we're going to have a look at some of the big boys' toys. If you follow me over here, we've got the Aston Martin GT12. Why the 12? Well, that's the number of cylinders in it. What's it like? Well, it's sold out if you wanted one. There were only 100 models were made, 250k a pop. So unfortunately you can't buy one. You can, however, see it in action going up the hill at Foz. Now the P1 GTR, another limited production model. Track going car with a stonking 986 brake horsepower, which is 1,000 of your PS in case you were wondering. Now what I want you to look at over here on the GT3 RS is these wheels. Get a load of the colossal tyres that have been squeezed in under that bodywork. Those have been taken, I believe, from the 918 Spider hybrid hypercar. We've got wider bodywork, tighter suspension and 493 brake horsepower. And that will take the car to 62 miles per hour in just your 3.3 seconds, not bad. We're going to hit on the Mercedes AMG GTS. It's aimed at Porsche's mighty 911. Is it going to touch it? Well, who knows, not for me to say, but it's the firm's top sports car, the SLS successor, but not replacement. It's smaller, it's got 503 brake horsepower in the GT version, but it's a fine looking beast and it looked very good in the flesh going up the hill earlier today. This is the most powerful Corvette ever made, despite the canary yellow colour. It's a serious piece of kit. It's the most potent GM production car. A 200-mile-an-hour race car for the roads. 512 brake horsepower from a 7-litre V8. This is a really interesting car in here. You'll notice it's a Jaguar, but it's done up in Bloodhound livery, Bloodhound being the Land Speed record project that's going on. Two great British brands, Jaguar and Bloodhound, really showing off British engineering at its finest. Now this car, the 488 GTB, which stands for Gran Turismo Berlinetta, has perhaps the hardest act to follow that Ferrari's ever had because it's the successor to the immense 458 Italia. The styling you certainly can't argue with, it's just as beautiful as anything else to come out of Maranello. What's it like to drive? First impressions are that it doesn't make quite as beautiful a noise as the 458 Italia does, but my God, is it fast. Here we've got a couple of neat little number plates from Noble for its M600. Right-hand drive and left-hand drive side by side. Nicely done. Now Autocar said this was one of the best handling cars it had ever tested, which is high praise indeed. It's 200k, so not so cheap, but for that you get near perfect driving precision, 650 brake horsepower, and a car built by a fine British brand with plenty of performance heritage to back it up. Welcome to the Lexus RCF Carbon Edition, as you can tell by the not so subtle bonnet. Now this brute is aimed straight at BMW's M4. It's a high performance version of the RC Coupe, and under the bonnet the RCF has got a reworked version of the 5-litre V8 from the ISF Sports Saloon, but here it produces 465 brake horsepower. We're here in the FX enclosure of Ferrari's stand. You'll notice we're on the right side of the red tape for this bit, and the reason is because I want to talk to you about some very special cars, the FXX progression as we've got it here. Starting here, this is the first FXX car in the programme. 2005 it kicked off, and I remember being shown it by Michael Schumacher at Fiorano, who proudly unveiled it. The idea behind it is it's for private owners who want to race. This is their race car. Ferrari will look after it for you. You get a 2-year package, during which time you get 6 events to attend with your FXX around the world. And what Ferrari will do is bring along new bits of technology for you to try out in the car. So in essence, you become part of the test driver developing specifications and engineering developments for Ferrari. The 599XX 6-litre V12, 730 horsepower on the Evoluzione form, has 750 horsepower. And what I like particularly on the crib sheet is the 0 to 62 mile an hour and the top speed limit, where there is no figure, it just says depends, which is a rather nice touch. And completing the lineup of FXX cars in the paddock today, here's the FXX K, 6,262cc coming from the V12 capacity, 860 horsepower, so a step up, and plus 190 horsepower coming from those batteries. It's 1.2 tonnes, and again, how fast you're going, it depends on how good you are, and also what bits of kit the factory give you for development purposes. And I think that's a pretty fitting way to end our supercar run of cars.